Hey there, it's Ann Teschendorf again, and I promised that we were going to talk about how we get through some project work, right? So recently we were asked by a client, Dealer Digital, to take a minute and build out some calculations for some video streaming. So I am going to introduce to you Jacob and Jonathan and let them have a dialogue and a conversation and show you what we came up with as a team. Thank you. Hi all. I have here Jacob Jiskowski and Jonathan Ross. Jacob is a current client of ours going through a calculation scenario with Jonathan on the AWS usage. Jonathan is our lead architect who's working alongside with Jacob. So I'm going to turn it over to you guys.
Yeah, so Jonathan, I have a variable amount of video and I have a variable amount of users coming to our website, and I want to kind of be able to gauge what my cost is going to be monthly.
Cool, okay. That's a pretty easy thing to calculate. Basically, we'll need to make some assumptions about the traffic and what's going to be going on. And we'll feed it into the calculations and then along with what AWS charges for things, and we'll have a good idea what it's going to cost.
Okay.
So some of those assumptions here I've got up here. The amount of space the website file is going to take up, we're going to assume that that's I've got 5 gigabytes here. That's quite a bit. Let's make that 5 megabytes. That makes a whole lot more sense. The videos, let's assume we'll encode those at like 1080p, 30 frames per second, and did some research, and that takes about 72 megabytes for each minute of video.
And that's based on the quality, right?
That's based on the quality, yep. Okay. And so then we'll be able to get a gauge on for each user, how many minutes of video do they watch each month, and then that'll feed into the calculation.
Okay, so every user watches a minute. This assumes that it's going to be 72 megabytes of transferred.
That's exactly it.
Okay.
Yep. And I've got here as the last item here, assuming like each person's going to watch like 8 minutes of video over the course of the whole month. 5,000 visitors is what I threw at it. And then the total size of the video library, I had to put a number to that because in addition to being charged for what's being transferred and downloaded out of AWS, you got to pay to store all those files there too. So I went with 200 gigabytes, a kind of reasonably sized video library to start with.
Okay.
And all these things are variables in the calculations that we can play around with based on what the actual usage ends up being or you anticipate.
Okay, so per se, if I had 9-minute videos instead of 8-minute videos, we could switch that to
We can change that up, yeah.
Okay.
Now the things that don't change is what AWS charges for you for using their services. And these rates are basically at the entry level. As you start using a whole lot more data, these rates will come down, but this is where you'd be starting and the rate you'd be paying. So there's 2 different services mostly involved here. S3, which is for storing like all the videos and the website files. And then there's CloudFront, which is the service that will be used when people are streaming the videos and downloading the things. And these are the 2 different rates, 2.3 cents per gigabyte for S3 and 8.5 cents per gigabyte for the CloudFront.
Okay.
And the calculations are pretty straightforward, and I'll run through those with you. The site visit cost, and what that one is just somebody landing on the site, and what needs to be transferred to the client is the website files. And so that's a simple calculation of the gigabytes transferred per that visit multiplied by the cost that CloudFront is going to charge us times the number of visitors.
Okay.
And so we can feed that into the actual calculation. 5 megabytes times 8.5 cents per gigabyte times 5,000 visitors, $2.13 is what just visitors hitting the site and loading things is going to end up costing you each month as an estimate there.
Okay.
Now let's get to the more interesting calculations, which is watching the videos. That one is kind of similar as well. You got to look at the gigabytes transferred for each minute of video, and that was that 72 megabytes per minute that we looked at. Again, the same rate, the CloudFront cost per gigabyte that AWS charges, and then again, the same as before, number of visitors. Then we multiply that by the number of minutes we think each person's going to watch each month. So if we plug your real numbers into that, we've got that 72 megabytes per video times the 8.5 cents per gigabyte that AWS charges for CloudFront.
Yep.
5,000 visitors, and then 8 minutes per video, and that is $244.80.
Okay.
So it's a lot more than just loading the site, because it's data constantly moving for that whole 8 minutes that they're watching each video.
So the site visit is just a matter of loading the actual content on the page, but then the streaming cost, this is assuming that all 5,000 visitors watch all 8 minutes of each video. Correct? Okay.
Yeah, however many videos they want to watch, but we're going to assume that they're going to watch about 8 minutes of video on the site. So then we don't have to figure out how many minutes long is each video, and that sort of thing, because that's going to vary. Let's just assume they watch 8 minutes total of video on your site across however many videos.
Okay.
And then lastly, similar to having to pay for the site visit costs when somebody lands on the page and it's got to transfer that data, you got to pay for all the videos and all that stuff to sit on the AWS servers until somebody wants to download them and everything. That takes up hard drive space in the cloud. So the cost for that is we have to add up all of the data we've got. So the gigabytes of website files and the gigabytes of video files, all that multiplied by now the S3 cost per gigabyte. Because if you remember, S3 was the service that will take care of holding on to the data and keeping it secure and everything until someone needs to download it.
Okay.
So that calculation is really similar to the site visit cost one. We've got 5 megabytes plus 200 gigabytes, which is basically 200 gigabytes if you want to simplify that. And then we multiply by the S3 cost of 2.3 cents per gigabyte, and we get $4.60. So it's $4.60 for just all of your data just to sit there on the AWS servers and just do nothing more than sit there.
And so will that fluctuate based on the amount and size of files on the website or on the webpage?
Yeah, so if we add more videos to the library, like let's say we add another 50 gigs of videos to the library, this calculation would change there. So, you know, it would be about 250 gigabytes times 2.3 cents per gigabyte, and that number would change.
Gotcha.
But basically, if you just let the site run for several months, that $4.60 is going to be static. That's always going to be a constant number there. What's going to vary is the other two numbers, the site visit cost and the video streaming cost.
Okay.
Because that one is heavily tied to number of visitors.
Right.
5,000 visitors is the variable there that you can play with, and then number of minutes of video that they watch. We'll be able to pull that out of the site using analytics and stuff to get you a really accurate estimate there, because we're assuming it's 8 minutes right now, but it might end up being 15.
Right.
Yeah, we'll just have to see.
Okay.
So that gives you a good idea of the total cost of everything, just adding it all up. Roughly $251.53 going out the gate, and that's using the parameters we threw at things which were here, 5,000 visitors each month, a library of about 200 gigabytes, and each user watches about 8 minutes of video.
Okay.
Cool.
Right on.
Does that make sense?
Awesome. Yeah.
Great.
No, that's great.
Great.
Awesome.
Hey, Jonathan, can
Yeah.
you show what you and Jacob pulled together as a customer you worked with Jacob to collaborate on a quick and dirty calculator?
So this one here, this allowed us to play around with specifically focusing on that large cost, which was the streaming video.
Yeah.
And playing around with numbers of videos and that sort of thing to get an even better estimate. So yeah, this was the calculator that we put together specifically for trying to analyze Jacob's specific challenge. Number of videos, length of those videos was one of the parameters we played around with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Great. So Jacob, I hope that was a good experience for you while you were going through that part of the proposal. Thank you. Thank you for sitting down with us and going through this with Jonathan. And for those of you out there that have questions or are interested in talking to us, contact us. Jonathan, do you want to just tell them your email?
Sure. If you want to reach me, you can reach me at jonathan.ross@covalentrg.com.
Great. And hope to see more things to come from Jacob at Dealer Digital. Thank you so much from Covalent. Take care. Bye now.